W5FC. Dallas races met first and third Sunday, 8 p.m., W5FC.
countdown's down to 5 minutes. 5 minutes till Skynet. Once again, if you'd like to sign up, log in officially early, go to w5fc.org and click on the link and put all your vital statistics in, and you'll be registered for Skynet. We already have over half a dozen people already signed in to Skynet online. This is KF5 JHA.
W5FC.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Good evening, everyone. This is KF5JHA. Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is Chaz, KF5JHA. I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night, well, for the last 13 years anyway, at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime, daytime skies, astronomy, space, and those kind of things in general. This is a net that is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using the pro sign, break, break, and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without any direction from net control. That's me. And stations, you're reminded to ID at the end of your transmission like this. This is KF5JHA. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a private line tone of 110.9. If you didn't know that, you're probably not listening. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics: astronomy charts, pictures, live audio video links. Ooh, you could go to YouTube and get the video. Are available online. Just go to w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. Now, you can check in on the net electronically by going to w5fc.org. Look for tonight's announcement and click on the hot link to check in. We'll acknowledge you on the air, and don't worry if you want to check in via radio or Echolink. We'll continue to do that too. All amateur operators are welcome and need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long, give or take a few minutes, and it's structured in several parts, like the following: general announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, National Space Society events, recent astronomical discoveries. Discussion topic of the evening was, that's just a funny name, space exploration and space history, constellation of the week, space launches of the week, visible satellite passages, astronomical question and answer in 73 rounds. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. We have the following people that have already checked in on the w5fc.org website. Hold on a second. Let me switch screens. Oh, we picked up a couple more. Okay. So, the following people are checked in over on w5fc.org. That would be me, KF5JHA. I'm in Milky Way, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, USA, Dallas County. That would be Mesquite, Texas, yes. Tom is in Corpus. Yes, he is there. Let me see. I'm just going to read off the list here. Oh, Tom is KE5ICX. Bill, W5DLT. He's in Garland. AG5PM. Rich, you're in Rockwall. WB5OZL. Brenda, you'll be doing some presentations. She's in Dallas. K5MCD. Cody, you're in Dallas. Antonio, AG9SG. You're in Dallas. Dale is in Mississippi. He's over on Echolink. N5LIG. AA5AH. Robert Richardson. Hang on, I think I've got a couple more. I got to scroll down on the list. Oh, yes, we do have NT5TM Tony. That's in Bird City. I wonder if that's next to the Milky Way. We'll find out in a few minutes, yes. All right, let's start with short time check-ins over the radio now. So we're up to several people. I think we're up to 11 people, I believe, that we've already got checked in via online. So right now, what I'd like to do is, if you're going to only have short time on Skynet, please come now with your call sign slowly, phonetically, your name and your location. I only do this about once every 3 or 4 months, so I don't have the fastest writing from the ears to the hand situation. So come now with your call sign and your name. We'll do this in groups of 3. The first 3 people that are doing short time, please come down with your call sign, name, and location. This is
Whiskey, Bravo, 4, Mike, Foxtrot, India, WB4, MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power, short time.
Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Zulu, Bravo, Lima, Bill, Farmers Branch.
Kilo, Golf 5, Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob, Farmers Branch.
Thank you so much. We've got Bill and Jacob from Farmers Branch. We've got Ted. Ted, you're low power, and yet you're full quieting. You must be right next to the repeater. So I've got those 3. So I think we're up to 14 people checked in. Come now if you're short time, and come with your call sign, slowly, phonetically, your name, and your location. Next 3 people, please. Okay, hearing none. Okay, we'll take the regular check-ins. Hang on, let me go check online, see if there's any more people online. Let's see. Oh, yes, we've got Bill in 5BB. I'm writing it and reading it at the same time. We have Dave, KG5Q, I think it's QQK, or is it? No, it's OQK. He's in Garland. And we've got Virginia in V5F, and she's in, she's in between Io and Jupiter. She's in a monolith or next to a monolith? Okay, great. All right. So, we'll take full-time check-ins right now. Slowly, phonetically, with your name, your call sign, and your location, please. Come now.
This is Whiskey 5, Golf, Uniform, Sierra, Gus, far, far northeast Dallas. This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James Carrollton.
Okay, we picked up James and Gus, a couple of the regulars. Thank you so much. Let me see. If you're on radio frequency RF and you'd like to check into Skynet, please do so now. Come now with your call sign, slowly, phonetically, and your name and your location. Okay, not hearing anyone else right now. Let's go to Echolink. Right now, I've got 3 people that I think I've identified that's on Echolink. If you'd like to check in via voice on Echolink, come now with your call sign and your name and let us know your location. Okay, the people that I have over on Echolink signed in, and I've already got them written down, are Brenda, W5OZO. That would be Dale in Mississippi, already got him down in 5LIG. And I've got Jay, KG5BZW. Haven't heard from him, but he's on Echolink. I've got you signed in. I think the only other one is Jimmy. He's KD5LQD, got him signed in. So is there anyone else on any mode that would like to check into Skynet before we continue on?
KG5BZWJ, near Weatherford.
Okay, I think I can go back to the script now. All right, let me see. Meeny, meeny, miny, mo. We've got that checked in. We've got Echolink checked in. Let's get started. Okay. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's set? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. Come now with your call sign if you have an announcement.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
Mr. Bird City, please come now.
Well, thank you. You know, I want everyone to not forget that this is a great net with a really hardworking staff, but it is not the last net of the night. The last net would, in fact, be the Afterglow movie discussion net. Tonight's topic would be the extremely obscure movie Idaho Transfer from 1973. I had never heard of this movie before, but I'm already getting pretty interested. Let's talk about it tonight, 10:30, maybe plus or minus 5 minutes right here on this repeater. We also have something surprising coming up this Monday, a surprise net at 7 o'clock p.m. local time, again right here on 14688. Do you have a surprising idea for our net? Let me know at nt5tm at w5fc.org. A generous local ham has already given me one idea, but I'm greedy. I like to plan ahead for other nets. I want even more. Send me your surprising thoughts, nt5tm at w5fc.org. And if the fifth Monday isn't enough of a surprise, well, we're going to celebrate April Fool's Day. The next Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting will be this coming Tuesday, yes, April Fool's Day, at 7 p.m. for the Fun General meeting or 6 p.m. for the Business Like Board meeting. More details are always at w5fc.org. The meeting is our old-timers night, except this year it's a young-timers night, I believe. We're in the third floor community room in the main hospital building of Dallas Medical Center at the northeast corner of Webb Chapel and LBJ. Again, the board meeting is at 6 and the general meeting, the fun part, is at 7. Also, if you can get on HF, even if you just have a technician license and you can only use 10 meters, please have a listen or even participate in the CQ Worldwide Work Doll Prefixes contest going on right now. Band conditions have been shockingly good. I had to lower my hex beam down to 8 feet because of high winds, but with that and half power and pointing the wrong way, I worked Australia twice on 10 meters right after TechNet, and that was after dark, too. So also remember, this contest goes by call sign prefix, not really by country, so we're all rare ones. Chaz and I could work each other for points if we weren't on a repeater, because we're in different countries, prefixes. So it's a crazy contest. Look up CQ Worldwide Workdoll Prefixes. Get on the air. Maybe you're going to enjoy Skynet a lot. I know I am, but you could participate tomorrow morning after breakfast. Anyway, NT5TM, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Tony. I have a topic, chocolate. Chocolate. Just chocolate. That would be an interesting topic on 5th Monday. Yeah, okay. Just to let you know, we do have severe storms off to our southwest, and if something happens, we might have to cut Skynet a little bit short because of that. If that's the case, Tony will probably come back in and say, let's close down Skynet and go to Racy's net instead. So we'll see what happens. I think we'll get Skynet in. All right. Well, you know what? We have an Afterglow movie tonight around 10:30-ish. Maybe we should have Mr. Skynet himself, KE5ICX, to tell us the very detailed, very accurate description of what was going on with that movie. Why don't you come down with your discussion and, well, not discussion, your topic summary.
Well, thank you, Chaz, and thank you for doing the net tonight. So here's my highly accurate synopsis, and as Tony alluded to, tonight's movie is Idaho Transfer from 1973. The team took the time machine and did donuts in the parking lot. Other time travelers were annoyed by this adolescent behavior. The only guy who thought it was ultra cool sported a mop of weird white hair, had a shaggy dog named Einstein, and dragged around some yuppie kid in the passenger seat of some gull-wing sports car. It was a creepy combination. Meanwhile, the time clocks clocked the vehicle at 56 years too fast in a 20-year-per-minute zone. This was time travel gone irresponsible. However, Karen, a local teen who liked time travel gone amok types, thought the boy was kind of cute and seemed above and beyond the time travel burnouts she'd been dating for years. He spoke to her, "Hey, you want to go to the year 2029? I hear there's a great movie playing at the mall." Yes, he was cute, but kind of stupid, too. Karen knew malls and no longer existed, nor did future teenagers. It was the whole reason malls went away in the first place. Join us for the nearly unknown Peter Fonda movie, Idaho Transfer, from 1973. Or is it 2029? You make the call tonight at 10:30 p.m. Back to you, Chaz, KE5, ICX.
Very accurate and precise. Oh, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events. Oh, that would be me. Slide Master, that would be Mr. Skynet. That's Tom over on YouTube. By the way, if you haven't gone to YouTube, you can watch Tom with his Star Trek shirt. Yep. It looks like the original Enterprise that he's got on tonight. Showed up. There it is. There it is. Yep. Okay. And, Texas Astronomical Society. The next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held on April the 25th, 2025. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas. Hang on a second, my weather radio is going off. Have a long enough reach so I could turn it off. Okay. Where was I? Oh, the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas Club meeting will be held at the University of Texas at Dallas at 7:30 p.m. on April the 25th. It also has a Zoom component. The featured speaker is Dr. King from UTD, and her topic, I believe, is going to be cosmic collisions of some sort. I can't remember the exact title. Oh, well. Saturday night public observing stations continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday night, so that there be an opportunity for live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions. Now tonight, on the 5th Saturday of the month, there's no observing session scheduled, only on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. To find out more information, go to texasastro.org for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing sessions. And this is KF5JJ. Just to let you know, the weather radio was talking about Tarrant County. Part of Tarrant County is under a severe thunderstorm warning. Not us, just thought I'd let you know. But if you're in Fort Worth, I think we do have someone that's in between Io and Jupiter that might be in that direction. Anyway, so what's next on our list of things to do? How about the National Space Society? I know he's out there. He's signed in. Bill, N5BB. Tell us all about the National Space Society, please.
Yes. This is N5BB. Hold on one moment. I wasn't quite as prepared as I should have been. Be right back. I've got to pull up my script here. And by the way, the whole area of North Texas, including Tarrant County, Dallas County, and the surrounding counties, is in a severe thunderstorm watch until 2 a.m., I believe. And looking at the predictions, it looks like it's going to hit this area roughly around 11 p.m. So 11 p.m. to midnight, maybe a little after midnight, there may be severe thunderstorms coming through the area. Now, let's get to my script, which is right here. So I am the Vice President and the Membership Director of the North Texas section of the National Space Society. The National Space Society is a nonprofit group based in the U.S., which is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. The big event each year for the National Space Society is the International Space Development Conference, ISDC. The next ISDC will be held in Orlando, Florida on June 19th through the 22nd of this year. This is N5BB. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets at 3:30 p.m. on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The meeting location is Spring Creek Barbecue on the southwest corner of Highway 183 and Beltline Road in Irving. The next meeting will be held on Sunday afternoon, April the 13th. A presentation for this topic is not yet known to me at this time. Our meetings are also available virtually over WebEx. Please contact N5BB if you'd like to attend online. On the last Friday evening of each month, from 6 to 8 p.m., the National Space Society North Texas chapter holds a social event called Space Rendezvous. The location is Cheddar's Restaurant, 700 West Highway 635 in Irving. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership in any group is required. The last Space Rendezvous was yesterday, March the 28th, and we had 10 people there. It was well attended. The next Space Rendezvous will be the last Friday of April, Friday, April the 25th. Our local National Space Society chapter website is ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just type National Space Society of North Texas into the search box. We also do various local events. One of the big ones coming up, of course, is Moon Day at the Frontiers of Flight Museum, near the anniversary of us landing on the moon in 1969 for the first time. And we have some other events we also participate in every month or two. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, please contact Bill, N5BB, that's November 5 Bravo Bravo, at my QRZ listed email address, or at space@byrom.net. That's SPACE@BYROM.net. That's all I got, Chaz. This is N5BB. Back to net. And watch out for the thunderstorm tonight in about an hour and a half. N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. I'm sorry I forgot to tell all of you about the severe thunderstorm watch that we have going on until 2 a.m. That's for everybody that's within the sound of the radio voice that I have right now. So, all right, we've mixed up the order of the items tonight because I need a break in between the three segments I'm doing. So right now is the featured topic. Slide Master, slide number 2, please. So why is Easter on April the 20th? Last year, Easter was at the end of March. How do we determine the date for Easter? Many holidays on our current calendar fixed, like Valentine's Day is always on February 14th, St. Patrick's Day is always March 17th, Christmas is December the 25th. Some holidays are defined by the first Monday of a month, like Labor Day, or the last Monday of a month, like Memorial Day, or the fourth Thursday of a month. Can you guess what holiday that is, the fourth Thursday of the month? Yep, it's Thanksgiving. And then there is this holiday, Easter, is somewhere between the dates of March 22nd and April the 25th each year. Why isn't it fixed? Why isn't it an easy, simple rule? Well, the simple explanation is that Easter is the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. Let's explore this. But before we get started on that, we've got to have, of course, a joke, because I'm famous for that. Here we go. What do you call a rabbit with fleas? You know, the Easter bunny. So what do you call a rabbit with fleas? Let's wait for a moment. Yep, I see some raised hands out there. What do you call a rabbit with fleas? Bugs Bunny! And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 3. Of course, if you're on Echolink over there, you can sit there and make comments about my jokes or whatever else, my haircut, whatever you want to. So the determination of Easter has to do with a lunar calendar and not as much to do with a modified Gregorian calendar that we use today. The Gregorian calendar is primarily a solar calendar. Several religions use a lunar-based calendar to celebrate holidays. The Chinese celebrate their New Year on the first day of the first lunar month in their year, but that doesn't fall on January the 1st of the Gregorian calendar. The Chinese calendar is based on both the moon and the sun, so it's considered a luni-solar calendar. Ramadan is celebrated on the Islamic religion using their Islamic calendar, which is primarily a lunar calendar. Wow. Did you know we had that many calendars? Slide Master, slide number 4. This is KF5 JHA on the W5FC repeater 146.88. This is slide number 4. Maybe I should start talking about some facts first. The Earth does not orbit the Sun in an even number of days. It takes approximately 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 46 seconds to orbit the Sun. This is called the tropical year, or the year of the seasons. It is the length of time to go from one vernal equinox to the next vernal equinox. I can use the sidereal year that compares the Earth's orbit to the background stars, which is approximately 365 days, 6 hours, 9 minutes, 9 seconds, which is about 20 minutes, 24 seconds longer than the tropical year, but I'm not going to do that. Why are those years different lengths? It's an entirely different discussion for another time. Since the Earth goes around the Sun in 365 days and a fraction, we only use 365 days as a year. Then, after a while, the calendar's off by a few days. Then off by a few weeks. Then off by a few months. And Christmas would be celebrated during the hottest part of the year for the Northern Hemisphere. So we could add an extra day every 4 years. Oh, but that doesn't always happen. There are exceptions to the years that can be divided by 100 or 400, or, well, you get the idea. Those aren't years that we had February 29th. The Mayans had a different idea for their calendar. They had 12 months, each with 30 days, total of 360 days in their year. Now, every 6 years, they added an extra month to synchronize with the sun. That's an interesting thing, a leap of months. Interesting. Slide Master, slide number 5. All right, if you think that's confusing, let's talk about the moon. The lunar phase cycle is a synodic month, going from one new moon to the next new moon, is approximately 29.53058791 days long. Divide the number of days in the year by the number of days in the synodic lunar month does not give us a nice even whole number of days. The Gregorian calendar in the synodic lunar month gets shifted all of the time. A full moon doesn't always happen on the same date each month. I hope that much is understandable anyway. Slide Master, slide number 6. And once again, this is KF5, JHA, and this is Skynet. Back to our story of when the date of Easter is situated. Easter, or Resurrection Day, is celebrated on the spring and is connected with the Jewish holiday of Passover, which is also held in the spring. Passover is the celebration of when God freed the Hebrew people and Moses led them to the led them out of ancient Egypt. This celebration has gone on for thousands of years. The Jewish people tried to visit or have a pilgrimage to the Temple of Jerusalem during Passover. It took some time to travel by foot, even took longer it took less time if you could afford a donkey. Traveling at night would speed up the trip, but there were no streetlights, so that would make it hazardous travel. But in a full moon, you could travel all night long. Passover is celebrated on the 15th day of the Jewish month of Nisan, which would be the place that's Passover in the middle of the lunar month, so right around the full moon. The Jewish calendar is a luni-solar calendar. Since the 4th century, the dates have been mathematically determined for Passover. Historically, we know that Christ's trial and crucifixion happened during Passover. Slide Master, slide number 7. By an agreement of the Council of Nicaea in the year 325, they set the date of the vernal equinox as always being on March 21st for the purpose of the calculation of Easter. In reality, with leap years, the equinox varies from March 19th to March 22nd. So having the equinox for calculation purposes of Easter to always be on March 21st makes the calculation a little easier. Slide master, slide number 8. Now in 2025, the vernal equinox was on March 20th this year at 4:01 a.m. Central Daylight Time. And the first full moon after that was April the 12th, 7:22 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Well, it will be, I should say, which is the next Sunday. Let's see now, April the 13th? No. So the full moon is on April the 12th, 7:22 p.m. Central Daylight Time, but that would be Sunday, April the 13th at 1:22 Universal Time, so that's April the 13th. So the Sunday after that is April the 20th, and that's the date of Easter for this year. And now you probably know more than you wanted to know about the length of the year, the length of the lunar cycle, and possibly the dates for Easter. Now, does anyone have any questions or comments for tonight's presentation? Please come now with your call sign if you have a question or a comment. Well, haven't heard anything, so all right. Brenda, you're up with recent astronomical discoveries. Brenda, WB5OZL, it's all up to you. This is KF5JHA.
Thank you, Chaz. This is WB5OZL. Tonight's article is entitled Organic Molecules of Unprecedented Size Discovered on Mars. The longest organic molecules identified to date on Mars have recently been detected by scientists from the CNRS, together with their colleagues from France, United States, Mexico, and Spain. These long carbon chains, containing up to 12 consecutive carbon atoms, could exhibit features similar to the fatty acids produced on Earth by biological activity. The lack of geological activity in the cold, arid climate on Mars have helped preserve this invaluable organic matter in a clay-rich sample for the past 3.7 billion years. It therefore dates from the period during which life first emerged on Earth. These findings are due to be published, they were published March 24th, 2025, in the journal PNAS. The discovery was made using SAM, co-founded by the French space agency CNES. This is one of the instruments on board NASA's Curiosity rover, which has been studying the Gale crater on Mars since 2012. This success paves the way for future interplanetary science missions in search of signs of complex, lifelike chemistry. This will be one of the goals of ESA's upcoming ExoMars mission, launched in 2028, and the joint NASA-ESA Mars sample return mission in the 2030s. With an eye to exploration further out in the solar system, the same international teams will build an instrument similar to SAM for Dragonfly, the drone that is due to explore the surface of Titan, Saturn's largest satellite, from 2034 onwards. Kind of a short article, but that's it. Thank you for listening, and back to net, WB5OZL.
Thank you so much, Brenda. Let me do a quick check here. Let me see if we have anybody sign in online. Let's see, is there any other people sign in online? Clay, I think I acknowledged you earlier, but if not, N5OF, Clay is a neighbor of mine in Mesquite, so he's signed in. And I see another person on Echolink over here, Christopher, KR4COB. Welcome to Skynet. Thank you so much. All right. The next segment of Skynet is What's Up? And that's a segment I usually do every week. And so here we go. This is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 9. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what has gone on astronomically over the last couple of weeks and what will take place over the next couple of weeks and beyond. Slide Master, slide number 10, please. We've talked about the predicted nova star T Corona Borealis, which could erupt at any time. T Corona Borealis is currently at a brightness of around 10th magnitude, which is too faint to see with just our 2 eyes. But when it goes nova, T Corona Borealis could become as bright as the North Star, which is 2nd magnitude. I can see the North Star with just my 2 eyes from my very light-polluted location in Mesquite. So that could be interesting. But it's only going to be at that brightness for just a couple of days from my understanding. If and when it happens, it's way past 2. Slide Master, slide number 11. Now, this image of the sun was taken on March the 26th. This is from spaceweather.com. The large sunspot complexes that are sometimes on the sun are so large at times that you can use your solar eclipse glasses to see them. The sun is around its 11-year solar maximum. We're not quite sure when the solar maximum will occur until after it happens. Now, we talked about the solar cycle about 3 months ago on Skynet, if I remember right. I think that was back in, it was December, yeah. Slide Master, slide number 12. Today, on March the 29th, is new moon. March the 30th is the moon is at perigee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 358,128 kilometers. April the 4th is when the moon is at its first quarter phase. Full moon occurs on April the 12th. I already talked about that, didn't I? On April the 13th, the moon will be at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 406,295 kilometers. Slide Master, slide number 13. Here comes a marathon of a whole bunch of things all at once. Slide number 13 is when, on March 31st, that's on Monday, the planets Mars and the bright star Pollux are in conjunction in the evening sky. Now, Pollux is one of the bright stars in the constellation of Gemini, the twins. Slide Master, slide number 14. On April the 1st, that's on Tuesday during the meeting, just go outside and take a look in the sky if it's cleared, and you might be able to see after the meeting, the Pleiades will be occulted, no, this is during the day, by the moon in the afternoon sky on April the 1st. No full one, it will be on April the 1st. If you have a telescope, you might be able to see the Pleiades being occulted by the moon, but if not, you probably won't be able to do it with your 2 eyes or binoculars. You need a telescope. Slide Master, slide number 15. On April the 2nd is the conjunction of the moon and Jupiter in the evening sky. Slide Master, slide number 16. On April the 5th is the conjunction of the moon and Mars and the bright star Pollux in the evening sky. They sort of make a nice little triangle. On Slide Master, slide number 17, on April the 6th, you can observe the conjunction of the moon and the star cluster M44. That's also known as the Beehive star cluster in the evening sky. Sometimes the moon will cult the Beehive star cluster, in other words, cover up the stars in it, but not this time. It's close, but not that close. Slide Master, slide number 18. On April the 8th, the moon and the bright star Regulus are in conjunction in the evening sky. Slide Master, slide number 19. In the early eastern morning sky on April the 9th, the planets Saturn, Mercury are in conjunction. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 20. Now, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a bell on any of the information I've given you? Or maybe you're just having a general astronomy question. My degree's in astrophysics. I might be able to answer it. Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a bell. Okay, hearing nothing. Slide Master, slide number 21. So as the moon wanes, So to these words for this segment of Skynet, stay safe, keep well, and pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live right now, well, except for a few people on the ISS. Until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few minutes. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JJ, and I'm giving it back to Net Control. Oh, that's myself, isn't it? So guess what's up on the list? Is Brenda, W5OZL. I think you're doing space exploration, aren't you? And some other things, too? It's yours.
This is WV5OZL. Yes, I'm doing it tonight. This is kind of collaboration between me and KE5ICX. I pick some articles, he picks some, and we kind of alternate reading. But tonight it's going to be my turn to read. First up, space exploration news. NASA's Parker Solar Probe team wins the 2024 Collier Trophy. The innovative team of engineers and scientists from NASA, the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory in Laurel, Maryland, and more than 40 other partner organizations across the country that created the Parker Solar Probe mission has been awarded the 2024 Robert J. Collier Trophy by the National Aeronautic Association. That's NAA. This annual award recognizes the most exceptional achievement in aeronautics and astronautics in America with respect to improving the performance, efficiency, and safety of air or space vehicles in the previous year. On December 24th, 2024, Parker Solar Probe made its closest approach to the Sun, passing deep within the Sun's corona, just 3.8 million miles above the Sun's surface, and at a top speed of close to 430,000 miles per hour, ushering in a new era of scientific discovery and space exploration. Next, Airbus wins a contract for ExoMars lander platform. Airbus Defense in Space will build the landing platform for European Space Agency's ExoMars rover, replacing a critical component originally to be provided by Russia. Airbus announced in late March 28th that it was selected by ESA and Thales Alenia Space, the prime contractor for the mission, to build the landing platform for that rover mission scheduled to launch in 2028. The landing platform is part of the ExoMars spacecraft that handles the final phases of its descent to the Martian surface in 2030, including performing the final landing burn. After landing, the platform will deploy ramps to allow the ExoMars rover, named Rosalind Franklin, to roll onto the Martian surface. The mission, which was paused in March 2022, weeks after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Russia was to provide the landing platform as well as launch the mission on a Proton rocket. Getting the Rosalind Franklin rover onto the surface of Mars is a huge international challenge and the culmination of more than 20 years' work. Kata Escott, Managing Director, stand by while I reset. Let's see, we've lost my place. Airbus will build a landing platform at its facility in Stevenage, England, where it also assembled the Rosalind Franklin rover. ExoMars will also include contributions from NASA in an agreement finalized in May 2024. NASA will provide throttleable braking engines for the landing platform as well as radioisotope heating units, RHUs, which contain small amounts of plutonium-238 whose decay provides heat to keep the rover warm. Because of the RHUs, ExoMars will need to launch from the United States, with NASA procuring a launch vehicle at a later date. Once on Mars, Rosalind Franklin's instruments will look for evidence of past and present Martian life. The rover includes a drill designed to probe as deep as 2 meters into the surface. And if you don't know who Rosalind Franklin was, she was a British scientist who did important work on the structure of DNA. Look her up. She's pretty interesting. Birthdays. Scott J. Horowitz, March 24th, 1957, SCS 75, 82, 101, and 105. Ludwig van den Berg, March 24th, 1932, SCS 51B. Kenneth S. Reitler, Jr., March 24th, 1951, SCS 48 and 60. Jim Lovell, March 24th, 1928, and he's 96. Gemini 7, Gemini 12, Apollo 8, Apollo 13. William Otheline, March 29th, 1965, STS 116. Michael Foreman, March 29th, 1957, STS 123 and 129. Space history. March 23rd, 1965, Gus Grissom and John Young launched aboard Gemini 3 in the first U.S. space flight crewed by more than one astronaut. Gus Grissom and John Young landed aboard Gemini 3 in the first, well, that's redundant. The mission was designed to demonstrate the capabilities of manned orbital flight, as well as evaluate the new two-person capsule design. Overall, Gemini 3, stand by while I reset. Gemini 3 marked the beginning of a new phase in learning the skills and testing the technology needed to put humans on the moon. One historic first of the mission was not planned. Gemini 3 flew the first corned beef sandwich into space. It was jokingly smuggled aboard the spacecraft by John Young at the behest of astronaut Wally Schirra. Though it was undoubtedly more appetizing than early space foods, the crumbs produced by the contraband sandwich posed a potential risk to flight equipment and vents. The sandwich in question, now encased in acrylic, holds a place in history in the Grissom Memorial Museum in Mitchell, Indiana. March 24th, 1979, Columbia unveiled. Space Shuttle Columbia debuted at NASA's Kennedy Space Center, but still required 2 years of work before it could launch. In addition, these new missions required new facilities. A 2022 Quest 29 #1 article by Anthony Young, validating the Space Transportation System, First Flights of Columbia, discusses how the first space shuttle was a test bed for the ensuing program. March 27th, 1968, Yuri Gagarin dies. Yuri Gagarin, the first man to go into space, died together with pilot Vladimir Sirogin during a routine training flight after the MiG-15 jet fighter they were flying crashed near Novosolovo in the Soviet Union. After his death, the Soviet government declared a period of national mourning in the memory of Gagarin. This was the first case in Soviet history where a day of national mourning was declared after the death of a person while performing work for the state. It was the first time it happened for someone who was not a head of state. At 21:15 the next day, the remains of Gagarin and Vladimir Sirogin were cremated. Their ashes were buried in the Kremlin Wall necropolis. Wrapped in secrecy, the cause of the crash that killed Gagarin is uncertain and became the subject of several theories. March 29, 1974, Mariner 10 first flyby of Mercury. 51 years ago, Mariner 10 performed the first ever flyby of Mercury. According to NASA, Mariner 10 was the first spacecraft sent to planet Mercury, the first mission to explore two planets, Mercury and Venus, during a single mission, the first to return to its primary destination for another look, and the first to use a gravity assist to change its flight path. That's all I got. Back to net. WB50ZL.
Thank you, Brenda. This is KF5JHA. The next segment is going to be Constellation of the Week. But before we do that, let me see if we have any more check-ins. I've got John over on Echolink, WB2YYZ. Welcome to Skynet. Oh, he's dropped off, but I've got him recorded anyway. That's number 23 on our list of how many people have signed in. If you'd like to sign in for Skynet tonight, come now slowly, phonetically, with your call sign, your name, and your location. Okay, let's see. This is KF5JHA. Slide Master, slide number 22. Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week is named in honor of Silent Key, Carolyn KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week almost from its beginning from 2012 until 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Thus, there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen in Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations. So Ms. Carolyn covers the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. So Ms. Carolyn's Constellation of the Week this week is actually a twofer. Pyxis, the compass, and Antlia, the pump. Pyxis is the mariner's compass, was originally part of the ancient constellation of Argo Novus, the ship of Jason and the Argonauts. The stars of Pyxis were part of the ship's mast. In spite of its long-standing tradition, in the 17th century, the French astronomer de La Salle remapped these stars into a new constellation, Pyxis Nautica, the mariner's compass. Slide Master, slide number 23. One of the most important things of Skynet are the jokes of the week. Here we go. What do you call a crocodile with a map and a compass? Now, over on Echolink, you're welcome to boo and hiss or applaud or whatever. You know, I can see that over on Echolink. Kind of hard to have everyone respond all at once on the radio. But what do you call a crocodile and with a map and a compass? That would be a navigator. The letters of my compass suddenly came to life, and what did it tell me? I'm going the wrong way. I couldn't believe the news. NEWS, for north, east, south, and west. That wasn't that funny, was it? How can you tell that the compasses are intelligent? Because they're all graduated. Why throw out a broken compass? Well, what's the point in keeping it? What's the most effective way to make it from Russia to Alaska? Use a compass and keep your bearings straight. Come on, these are good jokes, aren't they? My compass broke on a hiking trip. It all went south very quickly. Slide Master, slide number 24. We find Pyxis. Let's begin with something familiar, Orion's belt. Draw lines to the left, which is to the east, from the belt until you run into the brightest star in the sky, other than the sun. That's called Sirius. No, I'm not serious, but the star is. Now let's continue to the left, again, which is east, until you run into the faint stars of Pyxis. Slide master, slide number 25. Alpha Pyxis is beta Cephid type variable star. And it's also a double star. Magnitude 8.5 companion is easy to see because it's only, well, it is 107 arc seconds from the primary, so it's far enough away you can easily split it. The primary star appears white, while the companion star has sort of an orangey hue. Beta Pyxis is also a double star, but it is a bit more challenging to split than Alpha Pyxis. The companion star is fairly dim at a magnitude 12.5, and it's only 12.7 arc seconds from the primary. Beta looks yellow-white through a telescope. Zeta Pyxis is another double star. There's not much color difference between the two stars, with spectral types of the two stars G4 and G0. So they're both yellow stars with about the same spectral classification. Primary star is magnitude 5.5, and the companion is a faint magnitude 10. Slide master, slide number 26. NGC, which is also known as the New General Catalog, 2627 is an open cluster. It's a bit difficult because it's not an obvious standout object in the eyepiece. It is easy to find the object in an 8-inch telescope. This cluster is situated in the Milky Way starfield, so it's not very conspicuous. The stars in the cluster are concentrated just enough when compared to the surrounding stars field. It stands out from the background. Slide master, slide number 27. NGC 2613 is an edge-on galaxy and was surprisingly nice to see. It is not a knock-your-socks off object because it's not very bright, but is visible as a noticeable fuzzy streak in an 8-inch telescope, and you could only see it as an edge-on galaxy. Averted vision helps seeing it. You know what I mean by averted vision? That means you don't look directly at it, but off to the side, because the center of your eye isn't as sensitive to faint light as the side of your eyes. Isn't that interesting? Slide master, slide number 28. NGC, that's New General Catalog 2818, is an open cluster that's seemingly embedded planetary nebula, similar to M46. NGC 2818 is not a true member of the star cluster in spite of how it appears. Accurate studies of proper motion and radial velocities of the clusters of stars and the nebula show that the velocities are quite different. So the planetary nebula is a foreground object and not truly part of the star cluster. The star cluster and the planetary nebula can be observed in an 8-inch or 10-inch telescope, or bigger. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. We'll talk about the next constellation right now. Slide master, slide number 29. Antlia is a pump, and it's a faint constellation located in the southern skies. Its name is the ancient Greek word for pump, or air pump, which it represents. Antlia does not have a myth associated with it. Antlia was created and cataloged by the French astronomer Lasalle in the 18th century, along with the 13 other constellations he filled in to fill in the void of some faint regions in the southern part of the sky. Lasalle's constellations are mostly named after scientific instruments, like the compass and the pump, and there are no myths attached to them. Antlia is a small constellation, 62nd in size compared to only an area of 239 square degrees. Slide master, slide number 30, please. Now, how do we find Antlia? Let's begin with Orion's belt again. Draw a line to the left, which is the east again. So the belt stars until you run into the brightest star in the sky, other than the sun. Sirius. Yeah, I'm not going to say I'm not serious because you already know that. Didn't I already use that joke? Now continue to the left, again to the east. You'll run into the faint stars of Pyxis. Now go a little bit further to the left, to the east. You'll run into the faint stars of Antlia. Theta, slide master, slide number 31. Theta Antlia, is a binary star approximately 384 light years away. It consists of Theta Antlia A, a white A-type star, main sequence dwarf star. Main sequences are called dwarf stars. Theta Antlia B is a yellow-white F-type bright giant. Theta Antlia has an apparent magnitude of 4.78 combined. Eta Antlia is also a binary star. It is 106 light years in distance. The brighter component is the yellow-white F-type giant star, apparent magnitude of 5.2. Companion star is faint at a magnitude of 11.3, is located 31 arcseconds away. Delta Antlia is another double star approximately 481 light years away. The brighter component has a magnitude of 5.57 and classified as a blue-white B-type main sequence star. The faint star is also the fainter companion star is a visual magnitude 11, and it's 11 arcseconds away. This is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 32. The Antlia dwarf galaxy, known as PGC 29194, is a dwarf spherical galaxy located about 4.3 million light years from the Earth. It is a very faint object with an apparent magnitude of 16.2. You're not going to see this through a telescope. You'll need to be able to photograph it. The galaxy was not discovered until 1997. Wow. Slide Master, slide number 33. The Antlia cluster, Abell S0636, is a cluster of galaxies within the Hydra Centaurus supercluster, which in turn is the closest neighbor to the Virgo supercluster, which is what the Milky Way galaxy is located in. The cluster is the third closest to our local group, and the Fornax cluster and the Virgo supercluster lie closer. The Antlia cluster contains about 234 galaxies, and is dominated by two massive elliptical galaxies, NGC 3258 and NGC 3268. The Antlia cluster is located 32 million light years from the Earth. Wow. And this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 34. We're almost through with this. Now, there's a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellations Pyxis, the Compass, and Antlia the Pump. I've just given you a sampling of some of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 74 different observing programs, most of which have about 100 objects. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pen from the Astronomical League in about a year. And that is Ms. Kalen's Constellation of the Week, Pyxis the Compass, and Antlia the Pump. I want to thank my friends David Hutchinson, Dennis Harwell for their research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Now, next week, we have another two for Sextans the Sextant and Hydra the Water Snake. And this is KF5JHA, and I'm going to send this to the Skynet father. Yep, Skynet father. His name is Tom, KE5ICX. I think you've got space launches, got plenty of time. Take your time. And if you want to do satellite passages as well, you're welcome to do those back to back. This is KF5JHA. Once again, back to KE5ICX.
Well, thank you, Chaz. This is KE5ICX. Tom, I'm down in Corpus Christi. Let's see, tonight, Spaceflight Now launch schedule is brought to you by spaceflightnow.com/launch schedule. You can go there and find out when the next launch is, which is virtually every day. So here we go. The next one's coming up tomorrow, of course. There's one, Starlink 6-30. This will be from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida at 2:16 p.m. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch another batch of Starlink V2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit. After about 8 minutes, the first stage will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. March 30th, 31st, we will have Starlink 11-13, this time from Vandenberg. That's SOC-4E at Vandenberg in California. This will launch another batch of D2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit. 8 minutes after liftoff, the first stage booster will land on a drone ship in the Pacific Ocean. Sometime in, let's see, it says March Alpha. It does not give a date. This will be SLC-2 at Vandenberg. Message in a booster, it's called, will be the launch. The Firefly Aerospace Alpha rocket will launch Lockheed Martin's LM-400 satellite bus to low Earth orbit. The sixth launch of the Alpha rocket, designated SLTA-006, marks the second flight within a multi-launch agreement between Firefly Aerospace and Lockheed Martin, which may include up to 25 missions within a 5-year time frame. Will be a Falcon 9 launching FRAM-2. This is from Launch Complex 39A from Kennedy. It will launch 4 commercial astronauts into a 90-degree inclination polar orbit to begin a 3-day free flyer mission on board Crew Dragon Resilience. The mission is led by Chang Wang, a cryptocurrency investor and co-founder of Bitcoin mining company F2 Pool. He is joined by Norway's Jannik Nicholson, vehicle commander, Australia's Eric Phillips, vehicle pilot, and Germany's Rabia Raji, mission specialist. This will be the 4th launch for Dragon Resilience, which will feature the return of the cupola addition to the nose cone. It replaces the Skywalker apparatus used during the Polaris Dawn mission. On April 8th, it will be a launch of the Soyuz MS-27. This will be at 8:47 a.m. Minsk time. This will be from the Baikonur Cosmodrome at Site 31. The Russian Soyuz 2.1A rocket will launch a 3-man crew to the International Space Station. Crew commander Sergei Ryzhikov will be joined by fellow cosmonaut Alexei Zubitsky and NASA astronaut Johnny Kim. The Soyuz is set to dock with the ISS at about 5:04 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The spacecraft will remain docked with the orbiting outpost until December 8th of 2025. This will be the 3rd space site for Ryzhikov and the first for both Zubitsky and Kim. Later on in the month, April 21st, will be the launch of Falcon 9 with CRS-32 on board. This is from 39A at Kennedy. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch the company's 32nd Commercial Resupply Service, or CRS-32, mission to the International Space Station. The flight will carry thousands of pounds of scientific equipment investigations, technology demonstration, and other consumables to the orbiting outpost to support the crew on board. The cargo Dragon spacecraft will remain docked to the ISS for about a month before undocking and returning to Earth for a splashdown off the coast of California. Falcon 9 first stage booster used to launch this mission will target a landing back at Landing Zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. On April 29th, the Vega C launch of biomass from Kourou, French Guiana. The Vega C rocket will launch the European Space Agency's Earth Explorer biomass satellite into the sun-synchronous orbit at an altitude of 413.8 miles. Biomass features a P-band synthetic aperture radar, SAR, and is designed to collect information on the height and structure of different forest types and measure the amount of carbon stored in the world's forests and how it changes over time. In addition, the biomass mission will map subsurface geology in deserts, the ice structure of ice sheets, and the topography of forest floors. This mission is also referred to as VV-26 and will be the 4th launch of the Vega C rocket. We also have coming up in spring of 2025, the New Glenn Escapade. We've talked about this a number of times. This will be from Complex 36 at Cape Canaveral. The new Blue Origin New Glenn rocket will launch a pair of identical spacecraft, the NASA Escape and Plasma Acceleration Dynamic Explorers, or ESCAPADE mission. The two satellites, named Blue and Gold, will make a roughly 11-month journey to Mars, where they will perform about an 11-month science mission while orbiting the red planet. Blue and Gold are manufactured by Rocket Lab for over about 3.5 years to carry science experiments from the University of California, Berkeley. The launch of this New Glenn rocket will also feature a landing attempt on its landing barge in the Atlantic Ocean. Next to be determined is Dream Chaser 1 from SLC-41 in Cape Canaveral. The Vulcan Centaur rocket will launch on its second demonstration flight with Sierra Space Dream Chaser cargo vehicle for the International Space Station. The Dream Chaser is a lifting body resupply spacecraft that will launch on top of a rocket but land on a runway. This will be Dream Chaser's first flight into space. Let's see, we have also coming up on, oh boy, this goes way out, but I'll go ahead and read it anyway. November 2025 will be Falcon 9 launching Sentinel-6B. This will be from SLC-4E at Vandenberg. Falcon 9 rocket will launch the second of the two satellite Sentinel-6 series. NASA awarded SpaceX a $94 million firm fixed-price contract for the launch in 2022. The Sentinel-6B will use a radar altimeter to bounce signals off the ocean surface and deliver continuity of ocean topography measurements, according to NASA. The mission is designed through the partnership between NASA, the European Space Agency, and the European Organization for the Exploration of Meteorological Studies. Okay, and that's it. Oh, well, that's a pretty good, sizable list. Next up are visible satellite passages over the next few days. As is always the case, when we had the lean times, which was last week, the following week is pretty much feast. We have a number of different good passes coming up. First off, on the ISS, we have on March 29th, minus 3.8 magnitude pass. Doesn't get much brighter than that at 2116. So that's tonight. 10:16. If you go outside right now, you can see it. Of course, I think it's overcast tonight up in Dallas. Might be able to see it from here. I don't know. Maybe not. Oh well. It may be going over. The next one after that would be March 30th. This one is a minus 0.7 magnitude at 2205. Reaches highest point at the west at 2206, and it'll fall 2206 into shadow. March 31st also has a good pass, minus 2.2 magnitude, 2115 in the evening, now the west-northwest. It reaches highest point at 30 degrees at 2118, and it'll fall 2119 to the south-southwest. Then we have on March 31st, minus 2.2 magnitude, another good one, 2115 in the evening, west-northwest again, 2118 at, oh, I read that one, I'm sorry. April 1st is the next one, minus 3.4 magnitude at 2026 out of the northwest. Reaches highest point at 64 degrees at 2030. It'll fall to the southeast at 2033. And then finally, April 3rd has a good pass, minus 1.1 magnitude. This is at 2026 out of the west again. 2028, it reaches highest point at 18 degrees, still visible just over the horizon, and it'll fall to the south at 2031. So all of those are really good passes for the International Space Station. Next up is Tiangong. It also has a number of good passes. By the way, if you do visit the DRC Skynet Facebook page, you'll see there's a picture of recent picture of the Tiangong space station in orbit. It has grown in size quite a bit since its launch a couple of years ago. So when you take a look at it, you'd be surprised. It looks more like the International Space Station than it does Tiangong now. Pretty cool stuff. Take a look at the picture. It has a pass on March 30th. This one's minus 0.4 magnitude at 556, reaches highest point at 558 at 29 degrees, falls to the east at 601. March 31st has a good pass, minus 2.2 magnitude. And as you can tell, if you've been following along over the last couple of years, the magnitudes or the brightness of the station has grown significantly. So minus 2.2 magnitude, 6:30 in the morning, out of the west-northwest, reaches highest point at 83 degrees at 6:33 and falls at 6:37 to east-southeast. We have March 31st minus, nope, I already did that one. We will do April 1st, there we go, minus 1.1 magnitude, 5:30 in the morning, reaches highest point at 43 degrees at 5:32, and fall to the east at 5:35. April 2nd has a good pass. That's minus 2.0 magnitude at 6:07, 33 degrees. It'll reach its highest point at 50 degrees at 6:08, and it'll fall to the southeast at 6:11. And we have, it looks like, one more, April 3rd. That one actually has two passes. The better one of the two is, well, this is a toss-up, folks. One is at 14 degrees, the other at 13. I'll read the 13-degree one because it's a little brighter magnitude. Minus 0.1 magnitude at 6:41 out of the west-southwest. Reached highest point at 6:43, and it'll fall to the south at 6:44. Okay, that's a lot of stuff, but we did have a lot of extra time there. Kind of our presentations ran a little short, which is rare, but it does happen from time to time. So I'll send it back to Chaz, the NCS for tonight, the net control station, the top dog, the big cheese, that guy. Back to you, Chaz. This is KE5 ICX.
Just to give you the history of Skynet, Tom was the founder. We'll call you the founder. How's that sound? I was the hired for $0, but hired on talent as the astronomer on board for Skynet when it first started. So I guess we could be called co-founders. Is that possible? Okay. Well, anyway, this is KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. Thank you, Tom. Thank you so much for all you do and all you've done over the last, oh my goodness, is it 13 years? Yep, I think that's it, 13 years. All right, so visible satellite passages. Let's see now. Okay, I'm going down to the list of things. Let me see if I can get some additional check-ins. If you'd like to check in to Skynet this evening, come now with your call sign, slowly, phonetically, your name and your location. We've got 24 people so far. You could be number 25 if you sign in now. All right, hearing nothing. Let's see now. Are there any last-minute questions or comments or concerns, especially about your net control station? Come now with your call sign if you have any questions, concerns, or want to have an answer to something. Well, okay, here we go. Tonight we had 24 hams participating on the air. Thank you for all who checked into this evening. Hope you will join us next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space exploration, and we talk about history. We talk about all sorts of things. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations. Hey, if I can do it, you can do it. For not just this net, but any of the DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, remember this is amateur radio. You can contact any of the net controls or send an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics, discussions about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and X, as well as our audio and video streams video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. Oops, another warning coming out for somewhere close by. Until next Saturday night, this is KF5JHA Chaz. I'll be closing the net at 10:26 and about 10 seconds local time, and returning the repeater to the normal amateur route. Youth, my goodness. 73, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. This is KF5JHA.
And this is KE5ICX. Depending on weather and whether there's a sky-worn net called, we'll see. I guess there is weather in the Dallas area. So if folks would keep me informed about that, we will switch over if we need to. So this may be an abbreviated net tonight. We'll just have to see how it all works out. Weather is the factor here. But barring nothing unusual, we will go ahead and get started with tonight's Afterglow Movie Net in about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, that's enough time to make your microwave popcorn. Come on back, and we will discuss the movie Idaho Transporter from 1973. Start your timer, synchronize watches, all that stuff. 5 minutes. KE5ICX.
This is Chaz. It looks like most of the stuff is staying off to the west. There's warnings for Tarrant County, Wise, and Denton County, but it's still west of the Dallas area. So I think Afterglow should be okay. There's a big complex southwest of us, but that's not going to get here till way after midnight. So I think Afterglow is going to be fine. This is KF5JHA.
Ooh, thank you, Chaz. I don't have the weather radar up, so I didn't know how close it was. And I could hear your radio blaring in the background. Okay, thanks. And thank you for doing the net tonight. KE5ICX.
Normal state.
I'm completely operational, and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
Okay, kids. Well, it is now the bewitching hour of 10:32, pretty close, and it is time for the Afterglow Movie Net. This is the last net of the night of nets, and this one has to do with science fiction movies, usually that we are assigned, watch during the week, and then come back and review them and talk about things like the plot, the acting, and the characterization, as well as, of course, the special effects or lack thereof in the film. We have one of those lack thereofs tonight. This one's called Idaho Transfer from 1973. It was directed by Peter Fonda and stars a couple of people I don't know, Kelly Bohannon, Kevin Hurst, Dale Hopkins, but does have Keith Carradine in it. It was the only film Fonda directed which he did not appear. Of course, everyone remembers Easy Rider. This is one of the reasons why he was able to make this film, and probably no others after that. I don't think he did anything after this one, but I could be wrong. So let me give you the plot summary and a little bit of information before we get started. Teenager Karen Braden is a troubled mental hospital outpatient who is taken by her father, George, and sister, Isa, to a government facility near the craters of the moon lava fields in Idaho. That really is a thing. The project there was commissioned to develop matter transference, but made a different discovery, time travel. They also discovered that the mysterious ecological catastrophe will soon wipe out civilization. The time travel process has negative health effects, though. Adults not much older than 20 are unable to survive for long as their kidneys hemorrhage shortly after the experience. So scientists decide to send only young people 56 years into the future so they can build a new civilization. After the government takes over the project, the transfer machines are turned off, trapping a large number of project members in the future. Now trapped, they begin exploring the future world. A survivor from the project is picked up by a family dressed in futuristic clothing. She is placed alive in the trunk of their car. A small girl in the back seat asks what will happen when they run out of them, a.k.a. people from the past, that be time travelers. Well, we'll have to use each other then, is the end. Close, and then Rod Serling comes out and explains the whole reason why excess is so bad. How about that? Production of the film was produced by Peter Fonda's Pando Company in association with Marianne Santos, copyrighted from 1973. $500,000 was self-financed by Fonda, no surprise there. Starred mostly non-professional actors, no surprise there. Principal shooting took place in Arco, Idaho, Craters of the Moon National Monument and Preserve, and Bruno Sands State Park. They also think that cities of Belleville, Washington was a location. The film was shot after Fonda had finished directing The Hired Hand in 1971 and in August of 1971. I stand corrected. Hired Hand was a film outside of Easy Rider. The end credits conclude with the Latin phrase "Esto perpetua." Translated means "Let it be perpetual." It is forever, appropriate for a time travel film. It's also the motto of the state of Idaho. Fonda either neglected or did not wish to renew rights to this film, and according to several sources, the movie passed into the public domain. Fonda has also produced a documentary about the making of the film. That actually might be interesting. And a few more notes, just a quick three sentences here. Says Fonda said the film was in release for only 3 weeks when the distributor, Sin Nation, went bankrupt. The banks had the film for years. Luckily, I was able to retain the rights. Reception of Idaho Transfer has been mixed. Time described it as a very deliberate and closely controlled film graced by a slow, severe beauty that makes a quiet edge of panic all the more chilling, whereas J. Robert Nash in The Motion Picture Guide declares it a, quote, useless piece of drivel about an obnoxious group of teens. I don't think you can get much further apart as an opinion about this particular film. While watching this film that ran so slowly for me, even at 99 minutes, it seemed like it took forever. I was reconsidering all my life choices. Plus, I could read several chapters out of a book, since nothing was happening very quickly. But that's just me. Okay, so the game we play is this. We simply ask you to check in. With your call sign, your name, and did you see the film? It is not a requirement that you've seen the film. And in fact, we may have some discussion about time travel paradox, favorite time travel movies, favorite Peter Fonda movies, or I don't know. You know, that's for Henry Fonda, Jane Fonda. We're always fond of the Fondas. No, we aren't. So we do that. The next round, we will talk about characterization and acting, or lack thereof, as was featured in this film, and then the fabulously underutilized or non-existent special effects, or not so special effects, or no effects at all from this movie as the third round, if we have time. And that runs about 90 minutes long. You are welcome to check in. We do realize that at some point people go unconscious out of fatigue, either about talking about the movie or having been up all day and now all night. So we'll go ahead and get started. I will take check-ins. Please come now with your call sign, your name, did you see, Idaho transfer from 1973. Here we go.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. I only saw a little bit of this movie, and I'm interested in comparing it to an obscure old TV show from years ago called The 100. NT5TM.
This is November 5, Bravo, Bravo. Yes, I saw the whole movie.
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato, Bill, somewhere in the back of a vehicle. Yes, I saw the whole movie.
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia, in Fort Worth. Yes, I lived through this movie.
WV5OZL, Brenda in Dallas. Yes, I saw this movie.
This is KG5BZW. I did not get my head dashed against a bunch of rocks, but somehow made it through this film.
Well, this is an interesting bunch. It's the usual suspects tonight, but I'm finding your comments quite effervescent and interesting. Let's see if we can dash all hopes of redemption for this film as we go along. So I've got checked in, NT5TM Tony. Yes, he's seen part of the film, but not all of it. And the 100. I did not see the whole series. I did see the first couple of seasons, I think, which was quite intriguing, but I think it ran like 300 years. N5DD, Bill, yeah, he saw it. W5BLT, Bill, he saw it. ND5F, Virginia, reluctantly, she saw it. WB5OZL, Brenda, yes, she saw it. And KG5BZW, well, he did not get his head bashed in a rock. He did see the film. Very good. Anyone else want to check in? Please come now.
Kilo Echo 5.
Well, I got a Kilo Echo 5, and that was it. Try one more time. Okay, well, we'll see. I think I know who it might be, but without a full call, I can't make that call, so I won't. So we'll just assume that was a mistake. I am sure there'll be other check-ins a little later. That usually happens. So we'll start in order of your check-ins. Tony, NT5TM, first round is about the plot. You didn't get to see all of it so far, but what do you think? Unfortunately, I gave you the spoiler ending, but maybe you weren't listening, or maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know. But go ahead. What do you think so far of our movie tonight, Idaho Transfer?
Spoilers just never matter to me at all. If we're lucky, we get too old and die. It's all about what happens before that makes the story interesting. So yeah, I saw about 15 minutes of this, and I could see this premise shaping up of, okay, yeah, it's kind of blurry and low res, and they're all wearing bell bottoms. But this seemed to be about a bunch of attractive people getting stranded in a strange and frightening place. And that made me think of a show that I saw one episode of many years ago. I DVR'd it, called The 100, where it seemed to be a whole bunch of attractive teenagers being stranded on a post-apocalyptic Earth. And that one episode just was so lame and awful. But then critics turned out to love that series, so maybe if, like, Amazon or Netflix has it, maybe I'll watch more of it. Erin calls out no from the other room. She doesn't like the whole premise of teenage underwear models in space. But it kind of seemed like this was shaping up to be like that, even though I don't know what that really was. So I'm really curious to see what everyone else says. How do you make a good story out of stranded teenagers in a post-apocalyptic landscape? I don't know, but it's clearly been tried more than once, and I hope it was a good movie, but I don't know. NT5TM.
Okay, thank you, Tony. You will see some common behaviors in this film, and we've already explained our thoughts yesterday when we kind of watched the film and did a chat session along the way. And I'll let somebody else mention it because I give them an opportunity to say what we were all thinking. But you're pretty close to the 100 thing. Did you see that series? Not a lot of them. I think I saw about 5 or 6 episodes out of 2 or 3 seasons, something like that. And it did get better as time went on. And it was on the CW, or the old Warner Brothers station. CW is still around, but that station has always been geared for teenagers, and so all their programming has a tendency, and all their actors have a tendency to run younger for a younger audience. Okay, next up is Bill, N5BB. Bill, what did you think about the plot? You saw the whole thing. Please go ahead. From KD5 ICX.
Okay, Tom, this is N5VB. And Tony, you got to see the very end of the movie to get an appreciation for why a lot of people hate this movie. So, I thought there was a possibility in the first part of the movie that it might be interesting. The plot might be interesting. There might be something to it. But there were some very weird plot points. Example number 1, the first scene, what are they doing? They're capturing, they're putting a tracker, I believe, a radio tracker on a snake. Why? Don't know. Why are they doing this? And then they don't talk about that plot point later in the movie. It just disappears. I didn't understand that. And then later, something else kind of disappears. The dad, that's the scientist there, he disappears, and they don't film the scenes that would describe what was going on. It's all left to our imagination. Now, this is sometimes good, but in this film, no. There's too much left to the imagination. And then later in the film, they go forever. I don't know why. I don't know exactly where they're going, maybe to Portland, Oregon. I don't know exactly why they're going there. It's a little bit fuzzy on how they're going there. Do they really have enough food and supplies to get there? What happens if there's a thunderstorm? What happens if it gets... Well, anyway, that's not clear. And then they kind of split up. Why do they split up? Why do some people stay one place, some people go to another? Why does somebody turn around and go back? That's not clear. Mental illness is involved, but that's kind of weird. Except then at the end, mental illness kind of breaks out again. And then why does she go back just to get a sandwich? That doesn't make any sense at all. Why didn't the government people figure out kind of what was going on? That didn't make any sense at all. And then to top it off, the weirdest scene in the whole movie was right at the end when the weird futuristic car pulls up. They put her in the trunk, and then the girl in the back seat starts talking about, are they going to collect more of them? Are they the right kind? So what are we led to believe? Is the car powered by humans? They dump them in the back, and are they eating the humans? Are they selling green? What's going on there? It's completely ununderstandable. So the last scene of the movie seems to me like they filmed that early on, and they decided to stick it into the movie, but without any context. So I noticed the person that wrote the screenplay was not credited for anything else. And I think the movie was funded by Peter Fonda. Distribution company went out of business. It disappeared from the theaters. It's a train wreck. So again, there's some things that could have been okay. They could have done something with it. But instead, it's a train wreck. And by the way, there is a train in the movie that's not moving. And that's kind of a train wreck too, because it's not exactly clear what was going on there. Why were they moving the bodies? Why did the train stop there? What happened to all the people in the future? So again, as you can see from my description, the plot is, it seemed at the first like it could have been okay. They could have done something with it, but it just, too many things just fell apart all the way through the thing. And by the way, the whole middle of the movie was incredibly boring. Is that enough? In 5BB.
Become somewhat confused at times, thinking maybe I just drifted off and then woke up and missed critical plot points, but maybe our director and writer missed critical plot points too. W5DLT, the other Bill, you're up. Your thoughts on the story from KE5ICX?
Well, I don't know where to begin or where to end this. To add what Bill has said, I was trying to impress my friend Glenn, who's listening. I think he's my wife's cousin, who's up here now. And I was trying to impress him with the Afterglow movie net and Brenda's suggestions on films. I've bragged on Brenda a lot in her movie selection. I told him we kid her about it. And it wasn't really her fault on this one. But this was a train wreck. It's very odd. I mean, you can run time travel movies very easily without even trying. I've never seen a time travel movie where you can't wear pants and you can't have anything metallic. If you're over 20, your kidneys will eventually explode or just expire or just have issues, I guess. Not explode, that would be pretty wild. But, so it's definitely not safe time travel. And I can't figure out why they go in the future and not in the past. Like, because you can go back to the past, like the starting point there. And how did their dad invent the time machine and then want to start this new commune or populate the Earth after the echo disaster? It's pronounced two different ways there. What was that eco disaster that was wiping out all the population? And it's just really weird. So they wanted to start this, repopulate the world. And you get people hurt. Trying to categorize all the snakes, that was kind of weird. Then you find out that, well, that's not going to happen because everybody's sterile as a result of the time travel. It's probably one of the most dangerous time travel movies I've seen in a while. And it didn't really make me want to do any time traveling, I tell you that. I stick around here and take my chances, I guess. And I certainly didn't want to get in any, hitchhiking, get a ride in the back of a car type of thing. No, thank you. I watched the interview with Peter Fonda. He's very proud of this film. And just the storyline at the end where the human being, they're gathering up all the human beings that are not as mentally sharp as themselves, and they use them for fuel in cars. And he talks about wanting Harley Davidson to make an electric motorcycle, and he would buy one of those if they did. And this whole film was basically what would happen if we ran out of fuel for our cars. We would use each other for fuel. And so there's the that's it. Interestingly enough, I know this gets into acting. Maybe should have saved this, but if you thought these people weren't professional actors, it doesn't seem like they were, because he would walk around and meet these people, like a lady at a coffee shop or somewhere, and watch how she was handling customers, and gave her the script and said, come down on audition. And same with the person doing the repairs, I guess. It was a bicycle repair person and one of the actors there. And so you just find these people, and there you go. There's the cast. I've definitely seen better middle school and high school plays. I wanted to like this movie, but yeah, it's just a very strange plot. W5 BLT.
All right, thank you, Bill. Well, it wasn't just me. Okay, next up is NV5F Virginia. Your thoughts on the plot? I know you thoroughly enjoyed this film. I can sense it. I can sense you're going to have a lot of really interesting and uplifting things to say about this film. Please go ahead from KE5 ICX.
Thank you, Tom. And no, there's nothing wrong with you. There's everything wrong with this terrible atrocity of a movie. I think what I have to say might even touch on being round 3 stuff, but I think everybody's covered the happenings of the plot, except for no one has really explicitly said said that it was really obvious that to me, it's just really obvious how puerile Peter Fonda was, because the stupid rule that you have to take your pants off to travel in time. You can leave your undies on, but you have to take your pants off? I mean, really? I mean, so what I think is happening here is that we have a common fallacy in trying to be creative, and this is proof positive that Peter Fonda was just a hack who got lucky once, because the fallacy is that creativity is some kind of force that should be unbridled and boundless, and that somehow you're more creative if you have no parameters whatsoever. So this movie had an agenda it was trying to push, it had ideals it was trying to push, but it also just had these, like you were talking about how you feel like you must have slept through plot points, but it was trying to be cryptic, it was trying to be artsy, it was trying to be nihilistic, it was trying to be hippy-dippy, it was trying to be sexy, it was trying to be youth-oriented, it was trying to be warning us about the future, it was trying to be environmentalist, it was trying to be, anti-Vietnam War. It couldn't decide what it wanted, and you can't do that. You can't make something creative that's got any kind of meaning if you let it just mean everything all at once. And so, it was probably even trying to be a little bit of, I like to bring this up, Kubrickian, kind of cryptic sci-fi, that kind of fatalistic future, isn't as great as we think it is, kind of thing, but wrapped in some kind of, let's not make it action, let's make it really dry and esoteric and difficult to access, and it was just too hard to be a bunch of things all at once. And young filmmakers who have a success just on happenstance and don't have anything that has they don't have anything that's tempered them up to that point. They just think they can do it all, including like, oh, let's just hire people that we see at a coffee shop, because we're just going to buck the system, and we're just going to pick people we think are likable in the real world. Well, that's great. They may be able to handle customers like nobody's business, but it doesn't mean they're not going to freeze up in front of a camera and sound like the worst acted high school play in all of history. So I'm getting a little into acting now too. But anyway, the plot was not.
All right, thank you, Virginia. My local All-Star link overshot you there, or knocked you off the air there for a second for me, so I couldn't hear you. I think you're done, but thank you. Next up is, we did Virginia. Next is Brenda, WB5OZL. Brenda, I know you've loved this film. You were emoting about it after it was over, I think. You said, that's it? You wanted more. So, Brenda, what did you think about the film and the plot from KE5I6?
This this is WB50ZL. I did not pick this movie, for the record. You said I was emoting. I think I said it was emetic. That's how I felt about it. I have a pet peeve with movies where you can't figure out what's going on. And there's a thread here. Liddy has said that they understood everything. Mostly they said I couldn't figure out what was happening. And I generally think that that's just sloppy writing or maybe sloppy editing in movies. If you can't make a movie and communicate to your audience what is going on, then you have failed. And probably shouldn't be making movies. Most movies, you have no trouble understanding what is happening. And, I mean, that's why we watch movies. But, yes, Peter Fonda did fund this. It was $500,000. So far as I can tell, it was his last directing. Although he was either nominated for or won numerous awards for his acting and other things. He was involved in other aspects of movie making. Did his genes, obviously. But, I don't know why this one fell so flat. $500,000 is not a whole lot to make a movie. None of these actors were professional actors. Just, kids off the street somewhere. And that showed. And most of the storyline involved, let's hike over here, and then let's hike back over there, and then let's hike some more, and then we'll eat something, and we'll sit around. And it just wasn't a really dynamic story at all. The twist at the end was a little interesting, but up until that, it's so many unexplained things. They're tagging snakes and never bringing it up again. We don't know why they were doing that. What's the point if they're, not going to stick around? And, that's an interesting scientific thing to measure snakes, but that data has to be referred to in the future, which they didn't seem to have one. The reason why they couldn't have their pants on is because metal interfered with the process for some reason. They would never explain that. So anything with metal had to be taken off, like a jacket with a zipper, or pants with a zipper, or shoes with the eyelets. Most bras have some kind of metallic fastener, but I don't think these girls were wearing bras, so there's no problem. All right, that's all I got for now. WB50ZL, back to net.
All right, very good. Thank you, Brenda. I'm taking notes on everybody's comments. Saw something to say, maybe. Next up is Jay, KG5BZW. Jay, your thoughts on the plot for our fine film, Idaho Transfer from 1973. Go ahead.
All right, this is KG5BZW. It's like a sequence of events that the consequences of certain actions don't seem to have much meaning towards the rest of the film, other than a lot of traveling or whatever. It's like, okay, we're going here, we're going there. I don't know. It was such a boring in places film that it's like, I've got, I got a running mind here. I feel like I need to be if I'm going to be watching this film, I need to be doing something. If they're just going to do whatever, and then the dumb thing, dumb whatever. I don't know what word to say. It sometimes, yes, like others have mentioned, they're trying to be cryptic and like things happen. It's like a lot of nothing happened, and then all of a sudden, just another cut, and something unexplained happens or whatever. And like they might allude to certain things. They did not really cover much of the deaths, to my understanding. That parts that I could pay attention to, I had to speed it to 2x to get through the movie with captions. The plot about the government shutting it down just felt overlaid. There are elements of a story that they could have used. It was actually a pretty cool beginning. I would say that the beginning is probably the beginning and the very end are probably the best two parts of the film, and the rest is just what is going on here, and it's just kind of the same old teenage conversations about the future and whatnot that maybe they thought would be relatable to the audience or something. I don't know. I actually started thinking about like the Oregon Trail, and that was thinking about that and how that would could have related to the movie. Not that necessarily. I don't know where the Oregon Trail. I've only been up to like Wyoming, and I know parts of the the original, what we're taught in school, Oregon Trail, or at least not really taught, but when we played it on our Apple II PCs. I don't know. I'm just relating random stuff to this film, just like this film is trying to relate random crap together and make something. It really is nothing. It's a whole lot of nothing. They add some drama at the end, which I don't know. I did not care for the characters, so it's like any time it was hard to remember just because I just cared so little for them. I remember I guess that gal was twisting knobs to go to a different future. That was my guess. That's just before the very end. Because they explain that this machine that they use to phase into the future or whatever is finely tuned, and they have to adjust it every few days or whatever. And so she just went for the random future, and then when she did it, the miraculous bit of the machine actually being available too. So that was a whole bit that they just completely introduced. That the machines will run now, so this lady can escape back to what was it? Heck, I'm forgetting details of this film as much as. And the sad thing is, it's like I am happy that I'm forgetting. It's like I don't have to deal with that thought anymore. That's what I feel about all these plot points. Although I might actually still want to have some recollection of the film just to watch the little documentary of making the film, but I don't know if I even care that much for that. So whatever. Other than that, I think I've covered everything I wanted to say. KG5BCW.
right, thank you, Jay. And this is KE5ICX Net Control tonight for the Afterglow Movie Net. Tonight's movie is called Idaho Transfer from 1973. I'll go ahead and ask their additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come to your call sign, your name, did you see tonight's movie, Idaho Transfer. Please come out. Okay, hearing none, that's okay. Well, let's see. I have a few comments basically based off of what other people had said. There was some discussion about the film and scenes that went too long, others that weren't even there, and all the fun that goes with that. To say this movie was edited and choppy would be an understatement. Maybe that's the biggest beef outside of the bad acting, is the fact that it's just very choppy. It's very difficult to watch because there are scenes that were way too long that didn't need to be long. They didn't really add anything. In fact, it detracted from the film, and the pacing just went right down the tubes. When you have a film that's only 99 minutes long, you should be able to handle the subject matter just fine, unless it's like a TV show or something, in which case maybe you should keep to simple concepts and stick with that. Maybe do some character development instead of just talking about, I don't know, they tried to do character development, but I really didn't care. It was a bunch of airhead kids talking, and I just didn't care. But that's me, I guess. Let's see. There's one scene in there that I thought was funny. This is a minor thing. It only happens for about 3 seconds. When the group leaves, headed to Portland, I guess, you see 3 people waving at them. They're waving at people that aren't even looking at them. That just looks dumb. And it takes me out of any sort of immersion that it might have with the film. If you can't even get that right, your film is in trouble. It just looks dumb. There was some talk, I think Virginia brought it up, about experimentation gone amok. I understand that, and I get that. There is a line. I don't know what that line is. It could be an arbitrary line, or it could be specific to the artists themselves. But while you were talking about this, I certainly do not put Peter Fonda and Stanley Kubrick, one of your favorite directors, in the same bucket. But I will mention this, is that Stanley's films, Kubrick's films, many times were panned when they came out, mainly because of pacing, sometimes lack of exposition or excessive exposition. Sometimes there's times where things are just kind of just weird, that seem to take a scene and it just goes on forever, and it shouldn't. And if I remember correctly, I think the Eyes Wide Shut, I may be wrong about this. I was thinking about, I think it's Stanley Kramer that's in that, and I thought of Stanley Kramer as a director, and I could be wrong. I have to go back and look. I think it's Stanley Kramer that's in that film. He is also another one. He has a tendency to do things in an extemporaneous style. He'll frequently, or he did frequently, allow actors to go ahead and make up their dialogue before the scene is shot, or even to do things during the scene. There are times also where he would surreptitiously film actors talking and then add it to the film, to which actors were very upset because they might have been discussing something personal, but somehow he was able to edit into the film. And that made some of his films uneven, but in other cases they were considered masterpieces because it looked so natural, because it was natural, it was actually happening. I can't say it now. I said it a little while ago, now I can't say the word. At any rate, that also involved concepts and interesting concepts that are kind of off the wall. Blade Runner's one. Firefly is another, a space western. Blade Runner is a film noir. these films both were, well, one was TV but turned to film later on, but both were panned by critics when they first came out. They only became considered great films later, and neither of them actually were financial successes. So they never reached over into the popular area. There's a very niche market of people that love those films, and even though they go and try and make sequels like they have for both, they continue to fail because people don't understand them, don't have an affinity for them. So what's the disconnect and where is that line? It's very difficult to say. Up the coherence of a movie. If you put way too much in, whatever that line is, it's another example of that, you get into trouble. And part of the reason why I kind of like this net, it goes back to what I've said many times before. Science fiction is hard to do. It's very difficult to do world building and then have characters that are believable and the scenes where the characters are working in a believable environment. Whether that be technical or whether that be storyline, the writing, whatever it may be, it's exceedingly difficult to do. It's easy to do a police chase or a detective story or a medical story or something like that because we all know the tropes, we know how those plays out, we know who the characters are without knowing their names or their positions. But when you're doing science fiction, you've got to do all of that. And if you fail in any of the areas, in your explanation, your story, or any of the or characterization, the whole thing falls apart. And I don't know, maybe maybe there's something to be said for why I read two of those reviews, and one gave it pretty good marks, at least a B+, and the other one gave it an F for fail. And you read the short statements about the film, and you couldn't be further on opinions on this film. One really liked it, thought it was innovative. The other thought it was derivative and terrible. So I guess it depends on those elements that you pick up and you consider important in the film. So them's the breaks, I guess. So that's what I thought about it. Let me see, any other notes here? Oh, yeah, I guess that's it. That's all I really had to say about the plot. It would have been nice if it was a better exposition and they would explain what happened to the strange disappearance. All we know is that the government came in and took over and disappeared people, and shut everything down too. So that made for some complications. An interesting idea and compared against the way government works anyway. Boy, how government works. Okay, let me see here. Oh, somebody's coming in. Hearing thunder now. We got storms coming in. Okay, let's go ahead and move to the next section, which is talking about characterization. This should be interesting. Tony, NT5TM. Tony, you're up. What did you think about characterization so far? You probably got snuck in a few more minutes of the film. What do you got for us from KE5I6? NT5TM. Tony, are you trying to communicate with us from the future or the past? Please try again. Okay, well, let me put an asterisk by his name. I don't know if he's got technical or he's distracted or he fell asleep or he just wandered out into the wilderness. Somewhere in Utah would be my guess. Or Idaho. Not Utah, Idaho. Bill, N5DV, what do you got on characterization?
Okay, Tom, this is N5BB. My guess is, since this storm has arrived in Dallas County, there's rain at my house, lightning in the area. My guess is Tony, since he's the RACES officer for the city of Dallas, he's probably looking at the weather right now. So I'll keep this short for me. One quick thought, because the last scene is so different. In the last scene, there's people in fancy cars driving around. Well, earlier in the movie, we think that, no, there's none of that. So what if I put an alternative thing here? Maybe the machine is not a time machine. Instead, it moves you to an alternate universe. So it's not really the future, it's just a different possible universe. And in the end, she twiddles the controls, and so she goes to a different alternate universe where these fancy cars are there. Anyway, characterization. I could not figure out which girls were which. I just, their names just kind of got confused. And in fact, I got confused about who was who at some point with the two of the girls. I was really kind of shocked about the one girl dying early in the movie, and what I believe was her sister just goes on and doesn't, and she's the one with mental illness, and just doesn't seem to be all that affected by that, and didn't really take enough care to make sure that her sister didn't die coming back. I don't know. Things are kind of weird there. Their dad seems to send his two daughters on this thing without too much concern for their safety, if you ask me. I don't know. A lot of things in the characterization I thought were pretty weird. And I'm going to leave it at that. N5BB.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. If Tony were here, and I know, I think you're right, he's probably off getting ready for the net. And if anybody for Skywarn needs to come in, just give us a break and we'll move off. Just give us the word, or if you're on chat somewhere, let me know on Echolink or something. So far, I haven't seen anybody assembling over on Echolink, so that's usually an indication that something's up. But Tony says if the characters are interchangeable, then we probably don't really have much in the way of characterization. I agree with him on that. Okay, next is Bill, W5BLT. What did you think about our characters tonight from KE5ICX?
Okay, well, I don't know. There wasn't. The characters were interchangeable. I felt sorry for the main character that had the mental illness, and then of course her sister had to get her braces out, because you couldn't have anything metallic if you're going through the time machine. I think the dad, we saw him once, maybe, but they were pretty much forgettable. You really didn't really get to know any of them. They just kind of appeared, and I guess that's part of the maybe the thing with the movie is they were just gathering all these kids to start this new population growth in the future. I kind of wonder, on Bill's statement, if maybe she went back to the same future, but the car was there, and maybe they were out in those flats, and instead of going to Portland, Oregon, they should have gone to New York or Chicago. Maybe, who knows, maybe there were still people around, although they did say they couldn't find anybody on the radio. So who knows, maybe that's right. Maybe it was an alternate universe or parallel universe or something. I just have to say that this makes, to me, what Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams have done, spectacular by comparison, and I'm not a big fan of what they've done. If we could vote for worst movie, this would probably be in my top 3, maybe my number 1 worst movie. Although I did want to like it. I thought it would have been really intriguing if they had gone a different direction and have the people fighting the, 2 groups of people, the one trying to use them as fuel and the other group fighting and trying to outsmart the people. They could have done a lot, different things with this movie. But yeah, the characters, they were kind of interchangeable, not a whole lot of development, and it was just hard to care what happened. I find this was the first movie, I think, where I just wanted to get through it, and even the one that we saw with John Travolta that was, pretty bad with the aliens invading Earth and the people fighting them, and that, we've seen some bad ones.
Oh, Bill, were you done? I'm not entirely sure. Let's see, W5BLT, are you still there?
Sorry, Tom, I had an alarm go off, and I think it kind of messed up the transmit. But that's all I got, W5BLT.
Okay, thank you, Bill. It doesn't surprise me. There's a lot of weirdness going on because of the weather, I think, and some of it's just technical. Okay, we'll soldier on. ND5F, Virginia, what do you think of our characters and characterization in tonight's movie from KE5 ICX?
Okay, thank you. Speaking of weird, I think when I was in the middle of my last transmission, I ended up hitting the channel up button, and when I was done, I was greeted with resounding silence, and it took me a little while to realize when I finally figured out what was going on that I had gone off frequency accidentally, so I've got to be a little more careful with my handheld microphone here. I've never done that before, I don't think. I'm the same. I'm on the consensus with everyone. The characters were unmemorable, interchangeable. I honestly think, and I'm gonna hammer away at what I was saying in the last round, was that Peter Fonda just lucked out with earlier stuff and got kind of big for his britches and just decided he wanted to have a movie full of hot chicks taking their pants off, and he thought he could just pick people that he thought were likable in the regular world and make actors out of them, and they were all just flat and boring and didn't know how to act, and I guess it made for kind of a believable experience when you do kind of encounter the world of teenagers. There seems to be this phase in teenagerhood where teenagers have kind of flat personalities. I wish there had been more like videotaping and stuff when I was in that age group, and I probably would watch myself now and go, man, does she have any personality at all? So maybe it was realistic, and I just, but I didn't find anybody easy to care about or follow, or I really didn't want to really find out more about these people, and I didn't really care about what happened to them. And the ending was, super weird, and that's kind of a plot consideration now. But anyway, yeah, I feel about the same as most other people. It just all seemed sort of just gratuitous opportunities to, have partial nudity as much as one possibly could, and all the girls were kind of the same build and the same just the same kind of personality, and had the same hairdos, and that was back in the day where it was starting to be really trendy to be like a stick person, and they all were kind of built that way, and they all did kind of run together. I didn't find anybody here very compelling, and all the guys just were kind of like, I don't know, there was just a lot of like, everybody seemed kind of grumpy, and they were all cynical, and there was definite future. I think a lot of it was, Vietnam War vibes that I was getting, just kind of hippie stuff. Well, we're going to start over, but there's really no future, and, let's be all pouty about it. Everybody is so pouty and sullen and unempathetic. I didn't care about any of these people in B5F.
All right, thank you, Virginia. Next up is Brenda, WD5OZL. Brenda, what do you think of characterization? WB5OZL, did you fall asleep? I bet you did. Are you there? From KE5I6. See, this is what I do. I take 2 naps. I take a nap on Saturdays in the morning, and I take a nap in the afternoon, early evening, so I can try and stay awake. And even then I start to fade. Or it could be something going on with all of the background hubbub going on. I'll just put an asterisk by her name, and then next up will be Jay, KG5BZWJ. Your thoughts on characterization from KE5ICX.
All right, this is KG5BZW. So I have to confess, I don't know if there was talk earlier about how the dialogue was made or created or whatever. Were the actors themselves, was it something that was supposed to come off like completely natural, so they had the actors kind of wing it? Because, well, I mean, if that's the case, that could explain, I'll admit that could maybe explain some of it. I don't know how much of it is really a blame of the actors, though. I think, I mean, even some sort of framework, as I was mentioned, in where they wanted to go with the story would have helped a whole lot. So it's like, I just can't really blame the actors, even if they were, absolutely new to the process, whatnot. They did what they could, and I mean, sure, it shows that they probably didn't. It probably shows that really kind of. Well, I'm not trying to say. It shows they didn't have experience. But I mean, they did what was called for, I guess. I think so. I can't fault them there. Yeah, the overall story just not really having anything is the biggest drawback. Can't really talk about the characters when there's no real story going on. You know, it's just some loose ideas kind of put together, and not really of consequence of one another. So there's not much else to say. Everybody else has already said it, so I'll leave it at that. KG5EZW.
All right, thank you, Jay. And let's see, I just got a back channel with Brenda. She's back. Had some heavy rain, I guess, and she was having a hard time hearing her radio. Or actually, she's using her computer tonight. WV5OZL. Brenda, you want to make comments about characterization? Go ahead, from KE5I6.
This is WB5OZL. Now, it wasn't too loud. I was just checking to see if it was hailing, so I left the station here to go and look outside and see what was going on. Fortunately, it's not hail, just really heavy rain, and it could be so much worse. I guess we'll survive. I'm afraid that these petunias may get beat up, though. The characters, well, I think for the most part they were kind of boring. This bimbo girls, you know, with nice hair products. That's about it. And none of them were really complex, and their relationships were not very well developed. They were just really pretty boring. Well, there's not much more you can say than that. But you know, when you've got a dud of a story, it's hard to develop characters because they got nothing to do. Okay, I'll leave it at that. WV5OZL.
Do we have any additional check-ins? Please come with your call now.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. I have nothing to add. I just wanted to let you know I'm still awake. I was stopped from transmitting earlier by a technical glitch.
Oh, okay, Tony. We weren't sure. We went ahead and said what you would probably say anyway. Interchangeable characters. Would you like to add anything about characterization since we got you back?
No, I really did like Brenda's comments about, well, they all had good hair products. No, yeah, I feel intrigued that I've already seen the best part of this movie, and it only went down from there. But yeah, without characters, we're all human, right? We're all a little bit selfish. We want to fundamentally see stories about humans, and if they can't deliver that to us, we're going to dislike the movie. And I have heard that in action on this net tonight. So No, I don't think I'm going to watch the rest of this. I have been thoroughly convinced. Thank you all for keeping me safe and my brain unpolluted.
Right. Thank you, Tony. Okay, I have a chance to say something here. I'm going to kind of abbreviate a few things because I don't have much to say about characterization. I think we pretty much lambasted the acting, which wasn't much, and characterization even less so. So what came up was I went over and looked at the Peter Fonda wiki and see what they had to say about him. Well, he did his LSD thing in the 60s. I think he straightened himself out in the 70s. But what came out of that in the 70s is we keep forgetting a couple of things about the 70s. There was the early 70s and the late 70s. The early 70s, which of course is where this film, or the first part, is involved, is that you find that movies were kind of not doing really well. There was not box offices weren't doing well. The old drive-ins weren't going, were closing or not getting very well attended. Theaters were empty, all of this. And so they weren't making big budget motion pictures at the time, which opened it up for relatively young directors to come in and start doing things. Steven Spielberg, George Lucas come to mind. And some of the movies that they were producing, especially on the science fiction side of the house, George Lucas, THX 1138 was a relatively cheap film like this one that they could make relatively inexpensively and managed to get a couple of good actors at least, but it wasn't necessary. And I think that plays into it. And it wasn't until the late 70s when we think about Steven Spielberg and his attempts with Jaws that the blockbuster was created, and suddenly people were going back to the movies again, and they started making big motion pictures. So the second half of the 70s were much better. A-list stars started showing up again. People were brought out of retirement or dusted off and pushed in front of movies, and if it was a technological wonder of some sort or a gimmick that got people into the movie theaters, fine, they'd pay for it, and they'd do it. That doesn't mean that the quality was super great, but it's flipped overnight thanks to Jaws, and then after that, Star Wars. And then movies changed after that. Now they're all very expensive films, big films. The small art house films, not so much. But that was the opening for young directors to do things, and they made their mistakes, and there were bad ones, such as Mr. Fonda, although he did direct a number of films that were okay, and were appreciated, and his acting career restarted. So he wasn't completely lost on all of that, and I'm sure he learned something about making the movies along the way, too. At any rate, I thought that was kind of an interesting part of it. Okay, we're running out of time. I will go ahead and open it up for any final comments. If you have additional comments, if you want to talk technical aspects, something you missed in the first two rounds, or something you just thought I'd like to talk about, I'm just going to take you in order that you give me your call sign. So if you have something final you would like to say tonight, I'll take your call signs now, and then we'll go in the order that I receive them. So come now with your call sign.
Whiskey 5, Bravo Lima Tango.
NV5F.
W5BLT and NV5F. Bill, you can go ahead first.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the special effects or camera angles, but I will tell you, I consider the music to this very bad. The piano music at the beginning just annoyed me. I think I played that kind of stuff. I think I was doing that stuff in first grade on the piano. And then when they pick up the Hitchhikers, the music that was playing, that was kind of strange too. The music just kind of was strange, just like the rest of the film. That's all I got. W5BLT.
Yeah, somebody who likes soundtracks, this one was a bit weird. It's like they just kind of, sometimes they call them pin drop stuff, or needle drop, or what they call them sometimes when there's some sort of a song or something that doesn't have any real meaning to the movie. They just put it in as background music. I think that's kind of it. And then the piano was pretty cheesy too. I agree. NV5F, Virginia, your thoughts. Go ahead.
Okay, and I'll segue from there with the needle drop idea. That's probably another. I always just think everybody's trying to rip off Stanley Kubrick in 2001 because that was the greatest, and it was all needle drops. Anyway, yeah, well, I'm going to go off of what you were just saying about the 70s and 2001 and science fiction, and proof that that movie was right on the thin line between, what was and what became, because in the mid-60s, movies were already starting to be in trouble. I think the big earlier blockbusters where everything was a huge pageant with big budgets and big named actors and overtures and intermissions and I could probably I'm sure plenty of essays have been written on this, but 2001 was kind of walking that line right between those old style things, and Kubrick had directed Spartacus, so he was coming out of that world, even though his films before that were rather more his style. But then and then he did Strangelove, and then right after that he did 2001, and it had a little of that old studio flavor, where we think we're going to make the biggest, most, Western in outer space or whatever, and it turns out to be, Stanley Kubrick doing his thing on the big MGM budget with all the, in the roadshow format and the Cinerama and all that, and he was at the end of the 60s. I was at the end of the beginning of the experiment where all the old guys were giving it terrible reviews and all the younger people were, smoking pot down in the front row, and the early 70s was like, well, what do we do now, Because the old school studio system was gone, and the experimental, kind of like I said earlier, creativity has no bounds, it has no parameters, and that was a mistake that I think a lot of people were making, which they still make, it goes in cycles. But I think that's the point they were getting to be at, and the movies hadn't figured out, like, what they were going to be. They'd gotten into this avant-garde phase, and there were some good critically acclaimed smaller films in the early 70s and the mid-70s, but to get people, like the people at large, back to the movies, it's like all that greatness and pageantry had to and special effects stuff from 2001 had to kind of incubate for about 9 or 10 years, and then here comes Spielberg and Lucas, and they did some of the weird small things too, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to trope off of what you said, because that kind of made my brain about all that kind of kick on, and this movie was, I'm sure, just another attempt at figuring out which way things were going to go, and like I said, I think, Peter Fonda's success, some of it was luck, and some of it was family, nepotism stuff, and some of it was, messed up by having too much too soon and then going off the rails, which happens to a lot of people when they get going really early and they don't have anything to temper them. So anyway, that's all I have to say. But I had to plug 2001 at least 3 or 4 times to make up for how terrible this movie was in V5F.
All right, Virginia. Well, I understand. Trust me, I get it. All right, well, with that, I'll ask, anyone else have any comments? Please come with your call. Okay, hearing none. This is what I'm going to recommend, next week's movie, and I may need to talk to Bill, W5BLT, about this, because we rarely do this, but every once in a while we have a foreign language film. And the foreign language film, it's Czechoslovakian. It's from 1977. It's a comedy, and it's a science fiction comedy. I'm looking a little bit at the special effects on it. They're really not all that bad. I don't know if the movie's any good or not, but it has Tomorrow I'll Get Up and Scald Myself with Tea is what it's called. And this movie on YouTube has a grand total of 430. Wait a minute. How many views? 442 views in the last 5 months since it was posted. So I don't think it's super popular or anything like that. But Bill, are you able to interpret the subtitles if they're in English and the film is in, I don't know, Czechoslovakian?
Well, amazing, Tom, that you should ask. I just started taking a Czechoslovakian course in, should start it here in about an hour or so, and with speed learning, should complete it by 5 this morning. But yeah, I'm going to look at that, and I'll turn on the subtitles and then see if I can get my screen reader with the AI to do the scene descriptions. So we'll see how it goes. Back to you, W5BLT.
All right, very good. I just wanted to check in with you first because we make it doubly, triply challenging for you on some of the films, and this one might be a bridge too far. I don't know. So give it a shot. Send me an email or ping me or something. Let me know if it's a no-go. I'll pick something else because you're always here and it'd be good to do it. It just seemed like an interesting film at the time that I looked at it, and I just thought I'd just throw it in there and then completely forgot about how that you might receive it. So, at any rate, good enough. We'll tentatively schedule tomorrow. I'll Get Up and Scald Myself with Tea, which is the name of the movie from 1970. I think it's 75. I'm not sure. It's somewhere in there. It's in the 70s. We're still stuck in the 70s. So go find your bell bottoms so you got something to wear while watching the movie. And with that, let's say 7-3 and good night to everyone, and stay safe up there. Hopefully the storms won't be too bad. We'll talk to you again soon. This is KE5ICX, now clear.